Get another napkin. Call to order the St. Joseph City Council of Monday, December 4th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 2, public comments. Anyone wishing to address the council on items not on the agenda, please step through. And seeing no one come forward, item 3, approval of the agenda. Motion and second, the approval agenda. Any changes or needs? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion does carry. Item 4, consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second on consent agenda. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion does carry. Item 5, truth and taxation. Who wants to? Kayla, we need you. It's working well, so there we go.
Those are pennies.
So those wheat pennies, those are valuable.
Too much copper in them.
Desensitize it.
They're probably Canadian.
So good evening, we'll go in, the truth and taxation hearing is tonight. The city council had adopted the preliminary levy back on September 18th. With a levy that we cannot increase the levy, we did not meet any special allowances where we could increase the levy. Here tonight, we do actually have a little bit of a reduction in the levy proposed for the final levy, which has to be adopted by December 28th. So before we open up the public hearing, I have a little bit of a presentation that kind of goes through what's in the final numbers here for the budget and the levy. We do have to follow processes by Minnesota state statutes. There's a process starting back in April and May where we had a Board of Equalization hearing with the Stearns County Assessor. So back in March, property owners would have received a tax statement saying what their property valuation was going to be, and that's going to be for 2024 taxes. At that time, you could have had a meeting with them to kind of go through any of those changes. Once that hearing is closed, the county has to, the county assessor has to certify those values to the state in the fall. And that is part of the tax statement that you would have received, proposed tax statement that you would have received around November 15th with those valuations. Also on September 18th, the council had set the hearing for tonight here at 6 p.m. and that was also listed on the property tax statements as to when this meeting would be held. Your property taxes includes other taxing jurisdictions such as the county and the school district. They have separate hearings for their budgets and levies. This is only for the city tax portion. And one thing that I wanted to highlight is that if your property here in St. Joseph is your homestead, meaning you're here at least 6 months and 1 day, this is where you have your permanent residence. Make sure on your property tax statements that you have the homestead declaration. If you do not, Stearns County will take those applications till December 31st, and it can have a pretty large impact on what your final property taxes that you owe would be. So the council has till December 28th to set the final levy and budget for 2024. The city council had started the budget process back in May. They started holding some workshops going through capital projects, staffing, dues and memberships, different goals. We did some strategic planning this year and also looked at our debts, what current debts we have and kind of consideration of future projects that might be coming up. Again, on September 18th is when the council adopted the preliminary levy. and recent workshops that we had with the council, they are proposing a few reductions in some of the budget line items to bring down that levy a little bit from the preliminary. And they also reviewed fees and other operational activities. So again, tonight's the public hearing, and that has to be set by December 28th. At the close of this public hearing, the council can adopt the budget and levy, which may be tonight, or it could be at the next council meeting as well. Looking at the staffing, what's in the budget, there's a couple promotions built into the budget, not new staff, it's current full-time staff. Looking at promotions to fill vacant positions. One's for a deputy police chief, a police clerk lead, a utility worker, and then we have a backfill of a maintenance worker as a result of a promotion for a utility worker. And then we're looking at adding another part-time recreational staff to help with a lot of the growing number of activities in our recreation department, and especially with summer rec, t-ball, softball. It's getting to be pretty busy. Soccer, those leagues are almost like every evening, and it takes a lot of coordination. And then we have a planning intern in the budget, and that is a continuation from 2023. We did not fill that position in 2023, but we're looking to fill that intern position in the summer of '24. For a general rate increase, council had set 3%, and they also conducted a pay equity study this year looking at the overall wage scales and classification of positions, and that will be implemented on January 1st of 2024. In total, we have 31 full-time positions budgeted, 2 part-time. We have our cable person that helps us out on a couple meetings, and then the planner and some seasonal staff in the budget. Operations, as I said, we reviewed some of the dues and memberships. We did not do any RFPs on any of the consultants this year for 2024, so it's continuation of current contracts. There's a property tax sharing that we pay St. Joseph Township for the annexation that took place in 2019, and that will still go through 2025, but we pay less and less each year to back out of that contract. We do have some street seal coating, crack filling. We've, like probably everybody, have been feeling some inflationary pressures with things like fuel, utilities, gas, electric on city facilities. And so we built in some inflationary increases into the budget for that. New in 2024 is a tax abatement that the council had agreed to help Trobix get in the ground, and we will start paying that tax abatement in 2024. I'm not going to read all the equipment here, but here's a list of capital equipment that we're looking at purchasing in 2024. We are not issuing an equipment certificate, it says on there. We did in 2023, so some of those items are to be purchased with an equipment certificate that we already issued, but those are the basic projects. I'll leave it up there just for a sec. And these are also in the council packet. For improvement projects, we're looking at extending Elm Street from kind of where the Fitness Dollar General over to McDonald's, making that final connection there. Also at that intersection of County Road 133 and Elm Street, the Stearns County is reconstructing that area and adding a roundabout, so that's planned to go in 2024. St. Cloud has a couple sewer projects that they're doing, and we pay a portion to those projects because they treat our wastewater here from the city. So anything that you see SCAWAC is a St. Cloud project. We'll continue with the capital campaign of the community center, and hopefully we can start getting into some design for that project. And then we have a street overlay planned in those neighborhoods that are listed. Overall, in the general fund, here's a breakout of the budget between wages, operations, and then capital outlay. Going from an overall budget of 4.7 million up to 5.48 million. And the reason for the increase is we have some COVID ARPA money, that grant money that has to be spent in 2024. Otherwise, we have to give it back to the government, federal government. So we have some projects that are included in the budget for that. And then we also are getting a police safety aid of $312,000 here the end of December that the state had approved in their last legislative session. And so we incorporated some of those projects into this budget. So that's why you see the general fund increase by a little bit more than, a little bit higher. And again, some of those staffing is probably the other large item on there that, as we talked about, where those numbers are coming in at. We do have other funds that the city operates. There's special revenue funds such as the fire, EDA, a couple of large ones, the St. Cloud Local Option Area half-cent sales tax, and the park board has a separate fund that they operate out of as well. The park board, you'll see, has that's the park dedication fund. You'll see $850,000 is spent, or is budgeted to spend in there, and that's development of, mainly the development of now what we can call Rivers Bend Park, possibly. Sounds like is the going name. It's referred to as East Park in the budget, south of town on the Sauk River. We also have some debt service funds where we have different debts that we incur to do certain street projects, and then a couple capital project funds. The final funds that we have on the city are the enterprise funds, and this is what property owners here in St. Joseph would know from their utility bills that they receive every other month from the city. So these are things like water, sewer, stormwater, refuse and recycling, and then the streetlight utility funds. And so again, I kind of broke it down between staffing, operations, debts, some of their capital. In our final levy and budgets, the city has a couple different general levies. One, we have what we call an urban levy. We're seeing a market value increase of 9.32% in those levies. And again, that comes back to that Board of Equalization and what the Stearns County assessor looks for us and what those valuations of those properties are. They have certain state laws that they have to adhere to before they can certify what those assessed values are. So we're seeing about a 9.32% increase in those valuations. A lot of what you're seeing in your tax statements is a result of that market value increase. So the general levy that we see here is the urban general levy. So those that were in the city limits prior to the 2019 annexation that occurred. And you can see that on the final proposed 2024 levy, while the levy is proposed to go up from 2.4 million up to 2.5 million, because of that market value increase, the final tax rate would go down about 2.6%. So if your market values did not change at all in your tax statements, you would actually see a decrease in the city taxes, but likely you've seen some increases that include that 9.32% of that increase. The rural residential, those are residential properties that were annexed in 2019. And you can see that there is a slight increase in the levy, but a decrease in the tax rate proposed. And then commercial and industrial properties that were annexed in 2019, they have a separate tax rate, and that's just by that annexation agreement. They're going up that 6.6% each year until they get up to the same level as the overall urban taxes. The debt levy that's on here is strictly for debts, and only urban properties are charged those. That is set to increase 2.3% going from 829,000 up to 1.048 million that we need for levy to cover those debt payments for the city's portion. So overall, levy is set to go from, the 3.7 million up to just under 4.1 million. So just under a 10% increase in the levy. But as I said, the overall tax rate for an urban tax property would actually be down about 0.3%. So again, if your market value didn't change, you would see a decrease in your property taxes. And then I have the overall budget numbers. In the general fund numbers, 5.4 million. Other governmental, like the special revenue debt service funds, is about 4.7 million of the budget. And the enterprise funds are 4.9 million for a total of 15.1 million overall budgeted for the city. Here's just an example of an impact of a couple different properties on here. And one thing that I pointed out that if you don't have the homestead classification on your property taxes, which will be on the top of your property tax statement where it has valuation, it'll say homestead credit. You want to make sure that if that is your primary property for your living quarters, that you have that homestead classification. And again, Stearns County Auditor's Office is the place to apply for that if you do not have that on there and should. So this screen is here to show you that properties probably increased in market value. So here's, 4 examples of their 2023 market values to 2024. When that happens, you get less of that homestead credit, so that's where showing that reduction. And then I did some comparison on what that final tax would be on those particular properties, taking into account market value increases. So even though that our levy is decreasing, because of that increase in the tax capacity and that market value, you would still see a slight increase in your property tax for the city. This is the overall, all the taxes that would be on your tax statement, and then I put the effect of a $250,000 home and then a $500,000 valued business. And this assumes that there was no market value change, so if there's no market value change, you could see that the taxes would actually go down, taking into account all the taxing jurisdictions. But again, because of that market value increase, likely you'll see a slight increase still in your property tax overall. Little comparison on the tax rate compared to other cities. And this is the city, the counties, and the school district all added together. There is, the city does invest money into a ClearGov software program where we put the city budget in there and a little bit of a dialogue of what's in the budget, where you can scroll down and look at individual numbers, look at different departments, see where they're at, and if you had any questions on that. So there's a link to that site directly. But with that, that's the end of my presentation for the budget.
Thank you, Lori. So that being said, we're going to open the public hearing, Truth in Taxation, adoption of 2024 budget and levies. If you wish to address this public comments, please step forward to the podium, name and address. Seeing no one step forward, we're going to close the public hearing and then move into discussion. None? I do. I have some.
Go.
How do you want to do this? I gave you all the sheets.
Oh.
We did take into account your capital suggestions are in this final number.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Can I ask, where did we end up with lighting?
That's actually a streetlight utility fund.
Yep,
That's an enterprise fund.
right? So my suggestion was move some of that into a lighting fee, which all entities pay the lighting fee, not just residents that would pay the capital improvement tax on a on the, whatever the number was. My suggestion was to move a portion of that into the lighting utility fee so that government, military, educational, ecclesiastical would also pay for a portion of that, not just the people we're taxing.
Yeah, and that's why we do have that set up that way, so they are paying.
Oh, I know that, but what I'm saying, in the budget was like 15 grand, I think.
Yep, that sounds right.
And I said, can we reduce that and put a fraction of that into the fee schedule versus city residents or property tax residents paying for it? A lighting fee goes to everybody. So the lighting fee would go up for all those people that don't pay property taxes. The tax should go down a little bit, but the lighting fee would go up a little bit. And that's what my request was.
We already moved all those expenses into that enterprise fund, and it is covered by the utility, the streetlight utility fee that we charge in utility billing. It is not included in the levy.
Oh, well, that shoots that argument out the crap.
But that
You know,
is
so
why.
that's what I was trying to do. I was
reason-
trying to get it out of the tax.
Yeah, that is part of the reason why we wanted to do that, is to make sure
Okay.
that all users were paying that fee.
Yep, okay. So I was trying to move that around. So all the other suggestions were included, the
Yep,
reductions?
Yep, they've been included, yep.
Okay, well, then I don't have to go through them line by line, I guess.
No, we spoke about them as staff, and they were, yeah, so they
Pretty
got
reason, most of them were pretty reasonable, I thought.
Yep,
So-
agreed.
Okay, so just so you guys know, I went through the book kind of line by line and said, let's talk about this, and there were like a dozen of them or so, I'm not sure how many.
And they were capital project type
Yeah,
items.
they were. And I said, can we reduce them or get rid of them or whatever? And I left it up to them to do it. So you incorporated all those changes?
Correct.
Very good, well,
That was a suggestion you made after the work session we had?
yes,
Okay.
But if we can take a step back here too, some of those, the finance director had in the original levy that went for the preliminary levy, because you had brought those up earlier
I know I did.
throughout the year. So Lori had always kind of had those in the back of her mind. So when the original preliminary budget was prepared, several of those were already taken into account.
okay. So at the end of the work session, I said, hey, here's your last 3 days to get something in. So I brought it in specifically to David, and he talked about, yeah, Bob, you had something?
Yeah, I questioned, I just caught the EDA budget.
Yeah,
That's doubled, I mean, give or take.
And that's because of the Trobix abatement runs through there.
yeah.
Okay.
That's where
okay,
that is.
Gotcha, follow you now.
Good catch.
No, that was.
Okay.
So if those are all incorporated, then thank you for doing that. I mean, I know it was last minute, but at the same time, those were my kind of peeves that I wanted to get through. So then we'll look for a motion, consider adoption.
So moved.
A second.
Motion and second, Resolution 2023-69, adopting the final 2024 budget, 5-year capital plans and payable taxes and levies. Questions or concerns?
Yeah, I think we should have more discussion. We got till the 28th of December, you know. I mean, this is the highest tax increase that I've seen in 40 years. And I think it would be justifiable to the people of the city that we take it to more discussion.
Okay.
I mean, we got till December 28th.
Well, I did want to point out, and Lori, correct me when I'm wrong, but the 2023 certified levy was a 13.7 increase, and this year it's 9.9. So it's not the highest it's ever been, but it's lower than it was last year. And I mean, I got that from the League of Minnesota City site, where they published all the levy information,
Say that again, what last year's was?
13.7.
I don't recall that high number being last year's. I don't know where that number comes from.
Certified city levy change for 2023.
That it was that much. The tax rate came down because market values went up
Went up.
like 16% that year.
Okay, so the market value fluctuation that was in there
Right.
pushed that number up from what we were presented in the final adoption.
Right.
So is that the case now? Has the market value,
The market value's up by that 9.32%.
so is that kicked in just like last year? So the original number,
That is what we're seeing from the statements that came out in November. So there could be a couple small adjustments that happen, say like somebody still needs to file their homestead. It should be still pretty close to that.
Okay, when we had this meeting last year, as I recall, the number that we were increasing was like 4%. Maybe I'm wrong. That was presented to us. Okay. Then after that fact, that market evaluation came in there, which we weren't aware of at the time. And then now that 4% number changes to 13%.
We knew that we had about a 16 to 17% market value increase last
Coming.
year.
Right, but we didn't know the number.
Yeah, it's post-COVID.
When we adopted the budget, we were looking at.
We knew it was at 16, we knew it was in that level because the county would have told us that when they sent out the tax statements, they have that number. So when they send out the preliminary statements in November, they know that number to give us.
Well, what I'm saying, okay, what we were presented though was 4%, give or take, last year at this meeting a year ago. And that's what we adopted as a council, okay?
I'm not sure which number was at 4%, but
Well, I'm just off the top of my head, it was right around there, because otherwise I would have raised holy hell on that one, and you know that. But now you're saying, okay, we're at 10% roughly, and those evaluation numbers have a tendency to change that 10% after the fact.
not much at this
Well,
point.
it did last year, so I'm assuming it's gonna do it this year too, if you go to the League of Minnesota Cities and get the number.
The LMC published what everybody finally adopted, 2023.
Right.
So could it change? Possibly, but last year, there was a kind of an exception.
I'm just curious about why, the bait and switch with the numbers.
We wouldn't have, we
Well,
we
to
put
me,
the
to me,
levy
it was a
in,
bait and switch, in my opinion.
you
If we looked
adopted,
at a 4% number and then all of a sudden the number out here is saying 13%.
yeah, I don't know exactly where that number is, but
in my head.
you would have had the correct levy comparisons, and I don't know exactly where the 4% was at in
Yeah.
looking at the whole
Yeah, David.
budget presentation.
I'm not sure exactly what happened last year. Obviously, I wasn't here for that, but what I can tell you is how the assessments work in the state of Minnesota is, so the number that these levies are calculated on, as far as the home values are set. That won't change. I mean, that's set for 2024. So they're working on now, with the notice you'll get this spring for your property values
Valuation.
will be for the following year. So the number as far as what your home valuation is and the number in the total levy, or what they call the tax capacity, that really won't change. There could be some individual changes, meaning if somebody was supposed to have homestead and didn't, and they can get some of that. And there could be some individual case-by-case basis, but overall, citywide, there wouldn't be anything like that. It would be an individual case-by-case. And so what we have now really should be, the estimated for what it would be for, like, say, a $300,000 house will be pretty accurate. I mean, there could be some real small adjustments, meaning, for how it calculates out, for how many houses are in there or whatever, but it should be very, very accurate. So I don't think it's going to change by more, really shouldn't change by more than a few dollars on each property tax. So, so I guess I don't know what number was given last year and how that worked, but as far as what was presented, as far as what the overall impact would be, should stay the same, depending on if there's any individual, like I said, homestead credit or something like that needed to be added.
Very good.
Well, I still think we should have another meeting to discuss this before December 28th and not hastily adopt it, in my opinion.
And with all due respect to Councilman Loso, I think we have done
Yeah.
our work on the budget for 2024. We had a very intense work session a couple weeks ago, and it's been talked about before then, and other recommendations have been made. So I think we should move forward with adopting it.
I would concur with Klusner. This is something we've worked on and off on for 7 to 8 months now.
Very good, thanks, guys. Motion and second, Resolution 2023-69, final budget levy capital plans. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion prevails 3-1. So do you have a presentation for the fees too, Lori?
Right there.
Bingo.
I do. So just a short presentation. Again, the council had reviewed the fees in a recent workshop. The fees in the fee schedule were incorporated into the budget as far as, different revenues that would be received to cover the budgeted line items that we just went through. Council called for the special hearing for tonight following the budget hearing. The fee schedule is on our website, and if you see any changes in red, those are proposed changes for 2024 on that. And here are a couple of the changes that we have in the fee schedule. The labor rate is proposed to increase slightly, and that's just based on where the current rates are and considering some overhead in there. So if someone does something like a pool fill, we charge them a labor rate plus the water rate. It's incorporating that into those fees. The pool fill and the bulk water for things like drawing water from a fire hydrant, a contractor, those rates are based on the 2024 proposed water rates. We do have a premium charged on those types of services. There's a proposed food truck for a daily permit. These were requests that were coming in, and the clerk had requested that we added that to the fee schedule. So we have a year-round food truck permit that we do, but sometimes somebody just wants to do 1 or 2 days out of the year, so they've asked for some daily permits. The cannabinoid, there we go, license fees we're proposing to remove from the fee schedule, and that's because the city is going to fall under what the state law regulations are for licensing those types of businesses. Compost fees, permits, we're requesting an increase on there, and that's coming from our contractor who is experiencing some inflationary costs, like with the staffing that it takes to operate the compost site. There's some other fees that have some minor changes in there, and again, they're in red on the proposed 2024 fee schedule on our website. The utility rates, we do hire Waterworth to help us with an analysis of the water and sewer rates. We started using them last year, and they really kind of helped us look at our overall future projections of where water and sewer will be and helping us set those rates. Especially with, as we went through some of the projects with the St. Cloud sewer projects, how that impacts our residents. We have those incorporated in there, in that analysis, and kind of help us set what the rates need to be to help us prepare for that. So again, the individual rates are in that fee schedule on our website. Here's just a sample of what a utility bill might look like with the new fees for an average single-family household user, a business, and a multifamily user here in the city. So taking into account all the different utility fees, an average household user might see about a $20 increase in their utility bill, and that's using 12,000 gallons of water in 2 months. We have many residents, when we look at our actual average, the 12,000 is an industry average. When we look at our residents, we're closer to around 4,000 to 5,000 a month. So about 8,000 to 10,000 gallons on a utility bill. So it actually, that would be a smaller increase to those residents. This is for 12,000 gallons, it'd be about a $20. That business, using about 60,000 gallons, would see about a $47 increase on their bill, and a 60-unit apartment building might see about a $164 increase. I should mention that our refuse and recycling contract with Republic Services is up this year. We're looking at extending that short a time to do an RFP for that. And so the rates, they're seeing huge fluctuations on costs as well. And so the rates incorporate what they need to do to increase, to cover their operational costs and refuse. But they also realize that recycling could come down based on things that they do internally with their company, that they're able to bring down those rates. So kind of offsetting some of the increase in the refuse to kind of hold down some of that increase. These are a lot of numbers, just kind of comparing ourselves to some of the area cities. It's really hard to compare to area cities because we all charge a little bit differently. We all have different infrastructure with different updates. For instance, in St. Joseph, we had to build the second water treatment plant out on I-94 back in 2006, 2007. And so we have some debt that we're still paying on that water plant. That's a pretty large impact onto the water rates, where other communities might not be quite at that same life for their water plants, their water treatment facilities, and so they haven't incurred that large debt so they can keep some of their water costs down. However, it's gonna catch up with them eventually too. And in some cases, they have had to expand their systems to accommodate growth that's happening in their communities. New in this analysis is the city of Foley. They had joined the St. Cloud wastewater plant here. Actually, they just connected recently. They actually purchased some capacity from the city of St. Joseph, and they had to run a line from their city up to the St. Cloud wastewater treatment facility, which is over off of Opportunity Drive. So talking many, many miles of pipe that had to go in the ground. So both them and St. Augusta are held to certain dollars that they have to charge for different loans for projects connecting into the St. Cloud system. And so you will see that their rates are a little bit higher than everybody else's as a result, but they're held to what they have to charge. So it kind of just gives you an idea of where we fall for water and sewer. Whoops. Again, I have the fee schedule on the website, and that is the link to where it's at, so you don't have to fish around for it if you would like to look at it on those proposals. But with that, it's kind of a short, I did go through a lot more explanation in the agenda item in the packets, but if anybody has any questions, happy to answer.
Include the changes to electric and gas, correct? Didn't we negotiate
Yes.
a new contract?
With Excel.
With Excel, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you, Laurie. That being said, we'll open the public hearing for the proposed fee schedule. If any of you would like to address the council about the fee schedule, please step to the podium, name and address. Seeing no one come forward, we're gonna close the public hearing and then open to councilors.
I'll move on ordinance 2023-12 for approval.
Second?
Motion and second, ordinance 2023-12, adopting the fee schedule. Questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
I'll move on 23070 for the summary of publication.
Second?
Motion and second, 2023-70, the summary publication for the adopted ordinance. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion does carry. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thanks, staff. Good work. Okay, item 7. David, you wanna,
Yep, that is me.
okay?
Thank you, Mayor. What we have before you tonight is a contract extension proposal from Kinetic. They're doing the fundraising for the community center. This expires at the end of this month. There was some discussion about potentially extending it. There was some, I guess I'm not exactly sure what some of the reasons were why the delays were. But anyway, so we're looking at a 1-year extension, so we had contacted Kinetic previously to find out what we could do for a contract extension. So they're proposing a 1-year extension to go until December 31st, 2024, and then potentially an add-on, which would be from January 2025 until December of 2025 for follow-up, that kind of thing. So we'll tackle the 2024 first, since that's the most important. So currently our contract with Kinetic is for $17,500 and is for 80 hours per month. And they are proposing a update of $20,000 per month. And that includes travel and some of the miscellaneous fees. There are some expenses that are added on to that. So I have had some discussions with Mr. Wood regarding this, and I can certainly talk about them. But that is what the proposal is, and I'll take any questions.
Bob?
I got a couple questions here. Number one, why the contract extension? Number two, I haven't seen one piece of paper from this outfit for 2 years. Nothing, zero, zip. So I have a hard time, you know, they had a good spiel when they started, giving reports and all this good stuff. And I've got nothing unless somebody else has something that I'm not aware of. But I haven't heard boo from this organization or its representatives locally or, you know, nationally. So I really have a hard time here.
The short answer for the extension is the fundraising portion is not completed yet. As far as the reasonings into that, I guess I can't really get into. I've been involved some of it, but not a lot. And as far as report in that, I do know they are currently working with the Y. They are meeting with donors. They have had, from what I can tell, some fairly good success with that so far. The problem with that is that is something that they don't release until the end of the process. They don't want to. There's a potential that will spoil other donors if it gets out there, particularly who's donating what amounts. So they don't release that amount. I can tell you it is well into the 7 figures.
Okay.
1 million, that's 7 figures. 2 million out of what's the goal now? 12 million?
And Councilmember Kluser can correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is 14 million.
14 million, okay. I mean, I got a little bit of reservations on how much donations. I mean, a different opinion than what was presented, you know, but okay, I went along with it. But
Yeah.
I don't have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of this deal, they could raise 4 million, 5 million, 7 figures. But I'm concerned about the shortfall and the inflationary factor. I think construction was scheduled, or not scheduled, but preliminary thought to be started in 2024 and opening up in the fall of 24. And what's that? 2025.
Yeah.
2025. But I know we budgeted some money somewhere to, there's a anticipated shortfall between opening in the fall versus the summer and all that good stuff. But I'm really concerned that I haven't seen nothing. I haven't gotten no feedback, no numbers, no nothing on this in the last 2 years on anything.
And I guess
And I'm concerned that we're gonna be, you know, gonna have so much money stuck into this at that time that we're gonna have to go forward and go, you know, bond more than we anticipated. And there's inflation. I mean, that's running, you know, right now it's supposed to be, you know, depending on what you read, you know.
Kevin, you wanted to say something?
well, I'm sorry.
I thought you might want
Well, the only thing I was going to say is in this particular situation here is a little bit of a there's a bit of a dilemma or a cost benefit to this here as well, because you know, we are in the process. It looks like it's taking longer than what was anticipated originally. But where we're at with this is, you know, we're in the process. We do have some commitments. Apparently, there are some pretty good commitments from some donors. And we're kind of committed here at this point. So there's, there would be some risk to switching consultant here at this point. That would need to be taken into consideration, or trying to take it in-house or something along those lines. So we are in a little bit of a weaker position here because we are committed to the process and we're a few steps down the process. So we're in as far as in the bargaining, we're in a slightly weaker position than they are.
So why couldn't this company send out a FYI to the council or even to the city to fill them in on what's been going on for the last 2 years? Because I'm in the dark, I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah. And I
Maybe
guess
people know more than I do.
It's probably because we, as far as I can tell, we haven't asked them to do that. I know every month, excuse me, there is a meeting of the stakeholders, the ones that were appointed to the meeting. We meet out at Goldman Construction. I think it's the second Tuesday of every month. I think it's at 8:30 in the morning. And I attend those meetings and they go through that. We can certainly fill you in as much as we can on that, but the short answer is we really haven't, as far as I can tell, haven't asked them to give us any kind of report to the council. We certainly could do that, but it's been being reported to the members that attend that meeting, the ones that have been appointed.
Well, I think the council should know where it's at,
Okay.
before making a decision on, we're talking roughly $250,000 in the next year, and that's probably, you're gonna pull that out of what, sales tax fund for now?
The debt relief
Debt
fund.
relief fund, it says. It's in the packet, it says debt relief fund.
Yeah.
Can I, or you have more to say, or?
No, I can shut up for a second.
Sometime.
So
Answers.
I support Councilman Loso's need for more information. Kinetic adds value. As a member of the capital campaign committee and working with the consultant and the YMCA, Mr. Murphy's been to meetings, the mayor came to a meeting. There's value there. Having said that, I'm not comfortable with what they're proposing.
Okay.
So I'd like to table it, don't wanna vote it up or down. This thing just landed on Mr. Murphy's desk on Thursday to renew it for next year. And I anticipate, or we need to have more of a sit-down with Kinetic in terms of what we're paying for in terms of 80 hours a month. And whether we should be committing to 2025 when we're not even in 2024 yet.
Yeah.
So I want this hashed out, the contract. We needed to go with a full-fledged, professional, recognized fundraising, because we can't do it on our own. That makes sense.
I totally understand that.
I'm not comfortable with the aspects of what they're proposing, and we need to get council up to speed as to where things are at. Which, all of what we've done is confidential in terms of, it doesn't go out because we're still talking to some major potential donors. So I move to table it.
Second.
Motion is second to table. All those in favor signify by, table till next meeting perhaps?
Yeah, the
Until
next
we
meeting.
meet with
Yeah,
Kinetic?
I'm gonna try to get him in here Monday.
Okay, very good. Motion and second to table till next meeting. And David, I'm gonna make sure you're in that meeting to try and hold
Yep,
their
yep.
accountable,
Yeah, I
some
can be-
accountability to what they're trying to accomplish, some communication line as well.
Yeah, I'm available Monday.
Okay, very good. Motion second to table. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion is tabled till the next meeting, and kind of leaving you and David to
Yeah.
drive
Which
that.
might be before December 28th.
Yeah, okay. See, engineer reports, Randy?
None tonight.
No, outstanding. Item 9. Let's see, I have just, I had a question. How long is the, this is for Lori, the Trowbridge tax abatement, how long is that for? Or do you remember?
One off memory, I think it was up to 10 years,
Okay, okay,
but it could be the dollars reached first.
okay. Very good, thank you. So there were a couple of meetings. Number one, Granite City Gymnastics held a grand opening, ribbon cutting. That was really fun. David tried to go up and down the rope, but he couldn't.
I failed horribly trying to crawl.
I failed too. I went up and came right down. We have a photo of him trying to go up the rope. That was kind of cool. And this past weekend, we had Shop Small Crawl and Winter Walk events. Well, we had Shop Small Crawl, and then right after that, we had Winter Walk. Both events went really well. I mean, Shop Small Crawl, there was people everywhere. And Winter Walk, same thing. And my only question to Dwight, were there any kind of traffic issues or something? I know they had people at the crosswalk, but there still seemed to be like,
Yeah, it's becoming more and more populated downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start parking cars on both sides of the street and you reduce the visibility due and being a nighttime event, I know that Sergeant Johnson was working that night and he stepped up and helped direct some traffic, but then they got called away because we don't have dedicated traffic control. So then they resumed back to traffic control what they could, but in between taking in other calls. So we didn't bring any officers in on overtime. It just tried to do the best we could.
no,
So-
that was probably my only concern. There were so many people, and they were still going up and down like college. The other thing I thought of is when I was down there, I think we could increase lighting at that main intersection. I mean, it's not dim, but it's certainly not as well lit as it could be. And especially with the people going downtown, that would be my first intersection I'd add lights to. I mean,
Move the Kleinfelter light over there, that'll light it up.
no comment. But anyway, so both events went off really well. I mean, it was great weather, it was great, well attended, and I heard nothing but good comments from the people that went around. So I want to thank Raj and Marshall for the winter walk. I want to thank our own Mary Bruno for putting all the Shop Small Crawl together and following up with that. Really well done. Counselors, do you have anything? David?
Just one thing, this isn't violating the open meeting laws, but if I could just get the council to stick around for 1 or 2 minutes after the council meeting. We're not be discussing it. I just need to coordinate finalize the date and time for the next strategic plan. I know there's been a couple
Oh,
feedback,
okay.
so if we could just get around it, we could just finalize a time for that. It would be good.
Okay, very good. Item 10.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all.